As a sales leader, one of your responsibilities will be to acquire or bring on new people to your team, whether you're directly involved or partially involved. But how do you help people who are not necessarily the most experienced people come onto your team, start running, and generate money for you quickly? Or perhaps you're one of those individuals that's new without experience. Well, this episode is just for you. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we're going to break down for you with my great, amazing guest, Mr. Ryan Staley, what you need to do to help those new sales reps who are inexperienced to get to the point where they're just performing. As a sales leader, this is going to happen. We're going to teach you what you need to do to hire those top reps with little to no experience and have them to be some of the best performers on your team. He's going to break down what they have done because they've used this in their organization and grown significantly. Man, I ain't going to give it all away. Sit back and let's go listen to what Ryan has to say.
Kind of really five key components that I look for when we're doing this. It was results, values, resiliency, vision, and skills. Those were like the five components. So if you look at RVS is what it is. Once again, results, value, resiliency, vision, and skills are like the five main things that I looked at. And I can go deeper on them if you want to, kind of break each one down. So it's tangible value for you, the listener. All right, man. So the number one thing that I always looked at, and a lot of people I've heard it out on LinkedIn, I've heard it in other places, like, well, you can't just look at what people's results are in the past. And I agree with that. However, I think it's a great starting point to understand what kind of outcomes a person is capable of and have produced before. And this goes all the way back to, were they competitive in sports or theater or arts or anything outside just the work environment? Did they have a hunger to be a top performer, right? And so I would always look at them and have them basically articulate their resume or their job experience to me in reverse order. So from the oldest job to the newest. And then I'd ask them two questions, right? What was the biggest takeaway that you had from that job? The biggest thing you learned, and why did you leave? And this is really big, Donald, this one, because I can't tell you how many. There was probably about I think it was 90. I'm exaggerating here, but 90% of the people were the top performers on their team.
Yeah.
Right. The number one sales rep. And so those results was really cool. It's okay. Walk me through the single biggest win that you had from start to finish, from the initial point of contact to closing that deal, what you did, who you spoke to, how you got that deal, and what you did to differentiate yourself. And I would have answers like, I can't remember exactly what I did, or I was involved with this, and they give you like a really short answer, and then it's BS, right? So there's a lot of value in those different kind of formulations within that process. Values. I always look at this around growth-minded individuals and try to understand their values as a person and how they'd fit in the culture. And so I would ask them really is like, what do they do to develop themselves outside of work? That was a big question to show if growth is like a key human need of them. And then, what's the most important thing they spend their time on outside of work? And people might default to family. And that's great. And I'd have them articulate that, but then also passions, right? What interests them, what lights them up, what's important to them. And those really, those are kind of basic. However, if you find people, there's a big difference between a rep who's like, okay, I read books on selling, I watch webinars, I do this, versus someone who's like, I just, I talk to people and I get their feedback, right? There's a big difference in terms of their desire to improve, because that demonstrates how coachable they are. And so that was one of the key things that I used to kind of sniff that out.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a good component there, because sometimes one of my trainers told me in the past, he's like, Donald, sometimes people have those 30 years of selling with 1 year of sales experience because they didn't add
Right.
anything to that. So I've been selling for a long time, but you've been selling the old way for a long time, and you didn't iterate. It's like going to school. Yeah, I've been going to school for the past 12 years, but I've stayed in elementary school the whole time. Like, congratulations, you have a Guinness World Record there, but you don't stand out as a top performer or somebody that's going to bring results.
That's resiliency. We had terrible processes and even worse technology. So, which was funny because we were selling to CIOs, right? Which is awesome. You're like, yeah, this is going to change your life. This is amazing. We can't even process paperwork, and I see that all the time with companies. They're like, but anyways,
has the worst shoes, right?
Yeah, right. Tell me about it, man. So that, like, the people, like, that's one thing. You got to be, like, really clear about the strengths and weaknesses of the place that you work at. And there's things that are deal breakers, right? So that was one for us. If they weren't resilient and they weren't able to put up with a lot of crap, then they weren't going to make it. And that was part internal, and then the other part was external with customers. I mean, we were taking down deals that were $500,000, $1 million, $10 million, $20 million, and those deals take a long time, and you have like 10 different like curveballs thrown at you by the time you close those. So that was where the resiliency comes from. Yeah. The one thing I would say is that there's two things. Like, I'm being on the other side of this hiring as a rep is, like, really, really get to know and network, not just with prospects, and however, get to know your peers, because a lot of learning is siloed within a company, and every company is like their own little, I don't want to say fiefdom because that sounds negative, but own little world, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you get to really truly understand, like, and know these other folks that are peers, you're going to learn so much new stuff. You're going to know the market. You're going to know what's expected. And you could have a world of new opportunities open up to you as well, just by being exposed to different things. And that was something I didn't do much as a leader back then. And I know there's a lot of sales folks that miss that mark and don't do that themselves. And they're missing out on a lot of opportunity.
Well, listen, if Ryan, folks out here want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Yeah, the best way, so hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. And then at the same time, or actually probably a bit better would, because I'm starting to get hammered with direct messages on LinkedIn. So my website, ryanstaley.io. It's got everything there from content to resources, but if you want to connect with me, that's the best place to do it. But yeah, everything, like my podcast is on there, Sales and Marketing Built Freedom, other content, my blog, all that stuff. So great free resources for you. Take advantage of it. Check it out.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on the show today, sharing your wisdom, man. We truly appreciate it. That was Mr. Ryan Staley, and I would love for you to connect with him. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find all his information down below. If you're looking at this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, click on the show notes, and you can get all the information there. Here's the other thing about Ryan, too. Dude is super personable. I say this about a lot of our guests, but he is. And what you can do, just tell him that you heard him on the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm sure he'll be super happy to hear that. The other thing that I want you to do is think about how you can adjust your team and the performance that you guys are doing right now, the way that you guys are behaving. How can we improve that to make it a little better? If that's the case, if you could find something, I would love to hear what's that one thing you're going to take away and apply. As always, we share stuff like this because we want you to improve. We want you to get to the next level in your sales career. We want you to be able to find more of those ideal customers. We want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. And we obviously want you to be able to close more deals. But most importantly, we want you to go out each and every single day and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.